to movies and toys, TV shows, comics and collecting and superheroes. There's no end to the useless stuff they know, but don't call them geeks, they're just regular Joes.
Welcome to the Regular Joes podcast, where we talk about movies, TV, toys, collecting, and whatever's on our mind at the moment. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm Barry Kay.
And I'm Todd Pleasant.
Surprise, everybody.
Hey.
It's hard to even listen to that without laughing.
So tonight is our 400th episode, and you have not 3, but 6 hosts. You have the Regular Joes circa 2014 and the Regular Joes circa 2021.
It's like 2013, I think.
I think it's 2014, isn't it?
It was just our 8th year anniversary.
Yeah.
The
I
file
think you're
is
right,
from
Dave.
the file is from March of 2014, but it's probably a copy. So
it probably is a copy. Yep. So that is, we've maybe talked about on the show, that is the famed episode 0.
We have threatened episode 0 many times. We've never actually
we
done
have never played
0.
it for you.
And I have never heard it since we edited it like 8 years ago.
Right. So the backstory on this is we did a test podcast to see if we could even do a podcast before we released the first episode. And we never intended it to be released. We actually banked it and said maybe someday.
And now that the lawsuit's been settled.
Yeah, and we realize how bad it sounds. Not that we're sounds so great now, but
no, but it just does go to show you how far we've come.
And so we'll give a little commentary as we go along through this.
Yeah, that's the plan. We're gonna do a live commentary, pausing this show. I mean, like I said, I don't even know what's on it. I really have no idea.
I've listened to the first few minutes, and so we'll be experiencing this specialness together.
I think it was probably episode 200 or something when we said we might do this. I actually listened to it, but it's been years and years and years since I listened to it, so I don't really remember what's on it either. But yeah, so we are going to play episode 0, but stop it periodically and comment on what we think of it.
Yeah, maybe it's great. I don't know.
Way to put it.
If
various people put different numbers on how many hours you have to do something before you become very good at it. No one believes it's the first hour or the first 35 minutes. And this is concrete proof of that. To whatever degree we've evolved in 8 years, this definitely is the Neanderthal period of the Regular Joes.
I think this was really more of a technical test than a podcast, to be quite honest. I think it was, can we actually make it work was what this was. But
right. And again, we also did this from 3 locations. And so
that was different because a lot of people, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I mean, here we are in 2021. Zoom did not exist. GoToMeeting was one of the few platforms.
Yep.
And that was really just for professional use. It wasn't I mean,
we
you had
invented
Skype.
How to do this for ourselves. I mean, we didn't know. And we still record the same way. I mean,
this is also before we had good microphones. So
that's what I wanted to know. Is that before we had good microphones?
It was definitely. I remember
100%.
I was using a headset.
You were using.
And that's why I sound like this the whole time.
A can of tuna fish.
I was using a can and a string.
My mini sub.
Yeah, and I gotta say, while not a sponsor, I gotta credit our Audio Technica 2020s.
Oh my God, yes,
been in use for fantastic. 8 years without a glitch. Wait, someone had a glitch. Didn't someone replace one?
I had to replace one at one point, but I think it was an out of the box issue. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but I mean, we've been these. I can't credit them.
Recommended to many people, and they're terrific. So.
And they're not super expensive.
They're not
so before we move forward with the rest of the show, I do just want to comment on that original theme music. I was very nervous about putting that out there, to be quite honest with you, because I mean, I'm confident in my guitar playing. I don't sing. So for me to sing that and put that out, and now 400 shows later, some version of that has been on every single one of those podcasts.
And it's in everybody's head. Brian Hicks says it's in his head. Anytime he hears us talk, he thinks there's a soundtrack. So.
So I got over my fear of putting my vocals out there. But yeah, that was the earliest version of the theme. I think I've done 4 or 5 redos of it.
Yeah, I
since
think for
then,
500, you need to do like the purely instrumental version with like the string section and the whole.
Yeah.
We'll do
We'll
like
get an entire
the
orchestra.
Metallica with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm still working on my drum chops so that I can actually re-record it one more time with me playing the drums live.
Oh, that would be
of
cool.
So I'm working on that, but we'll get there.
I think you need to do that with Dave and I at your place, and we'll be backup singers but muted.
I need you to teach me how to play one chord on my guitar that I have one I've never learned how to play.
You can do that opening chord. Boom.
I want to play it on the track. We both have to play something.
Good.
Or the triangle,
all right,
one
so
or the other.
Are we ready to hear what it was we talked about 8 years ago?
I guess so. Let's let this go.
I'm going to unpause, and you guys let me know when you want me to stop.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Wasn't?
This week, we're going to talk about Desert Island DVDs. These are not exactly your favorite movie, but if you were actually stuck on a desert island, what 3 DVDs would you take? And the way we've set this up is there is no overlap. So we're going to go in order, talk about our DVDs, and we're going to discuss why. There'll be some interaction, probably some argument. And then the next person goes, but if I've chosen a DVD, Barry or Todd can't choose it, and vice versa.
All right, we all want to stop there. I mean,
so it's interesting that this was like our throwaway episode, but this ended up being our icebreaker for every time we met in the early days, every time we met a tag person.
Met anyone famous, but we did this on the show for probably the first 100 episodes.
It was quite often, but I'm saying, it seemed that it was our like go-to question, and
it was really easy because as you listen to our very original interview questions, we didn't know what we were saying or what we were asking or what to do, but it was easy when we were at conventions to ask someone to record really quickly, and it's a good question. And I think it's funny. There's no such thing as a desert island; it's a deserted island, but that's a whole nother issue. But everyone sort of knows that because of people ask about desert island, records or whatever, and everyone always answered it. I never had anyone be like, "What are you talking about?" It sort of was an immediate like, "Okay, yeah, I get it," Yeah.
Do you remember the time we asked Henry Winkler if we could ask him? So I think we did. We got him to do Desert Island DVD, and then when we asked him something else, he's like, "No."
Yeah, what? I don't remember. We got to listen back to that.
We did. He did do the Desert Island DVD thing.
What did he say? I don't remember.
Oh God, we'd have to go back and look. What I thought was interesting here too. You guys stopped me before I stopped myself. We were still trying to set up 8 years ago the rules for how we're going to do something. Like Dave's like, right, there's no overlaps. If I pick something, you can't pick it. It was like interesting that we still have these arguments.
These things.
There will be interaction.
For as much as you've listened to the show, and we hope some of you've heard all 400 episodes, we have spent twice as much time offline talking about rating systems.
Yeah,
that's the funny thing. If we have it's a little higher than 4. If we have 400 hours recorded that you've heard, there's at least another 800 hours of us talking to each other about shit.
Well, and we don't really argue much in our personal life, but most of the arguments on this about this podcast have come from trying to figure out rating systems.
So yeah,
it is pretty funny. All right, shall we continue?
Yeah, continue.
Right, here we go.
Say.
Here we go.
We did a coin toss, which I won, so I'm going to go first.
We did?
I've divided these up into a couple different categories. So the first one I'm going to pick is Aliens.
Ooh.
That was on my list.
Mine too.
Low-hanging fruit, Dave.
I choose that because it is one of my favorite movies. I think it still holds up. It is very watchable.
I got to ask a question, though. I got to interrupt you. Ask, is this director's cut Aliens?
Oh, my God, the fucking director's cut even back then.
I know it.
I'm a director's cut guy. What can I say? You know that.
I don't love the director's cut of Aliens. It's too long, I think.
Oh, I like it better.
Really? Those two guns on the tripod?
I don't need that scene. I think it helps set up why Ripley cares so much about saving Newt, and the fact that find out that her daughter
that brings
died.
in a whole different. We could let's argue the show. Yeah. Maybe we actually do this on the recording that we don't know about.
Continue. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna keep going.
And I would pick 2.
That's the better one. So
I gotta ask another question. I know. Yes. Are we going 3, 2, 1? So are we going to end with our top pick, or was Aliens your number 1 pick?
None of them are really my top. I mean, I think I sort of have categories. So
8 years later, we would do top 100 lists, people.
That's right.
This is the thing. What do we? Is it 1 is the best or 10 is the best? I don't know. We've had that argument 20 times on
our
the
scale of 1 to 5 because 10 is too much. We've done every variation you possibly can. Okay, let's see who's next here.
I mean, I think I sort of have categories. So I had a hard time picking them. So I'm in those particular
order. Because I have mine in order. So
of course you do.
Okay, that works.
All right.
So I think it's a movie I can watch over and over again. Again, it does also fit into my top movies list. So
yeah, I mean, it's funny because my Desert
Island
in this
episode
is pretty much.
You are now because you just talked over it, but
you didn't talk much back then. Now you talk too much.
Okay. Now we can't get you to stop. I think you are in here eventually. Let's keep listening. Maybe we'll get to you.
So
yeah, I mean, it's funny because my Desert Island list is pretty much equal to my top movies list. There's nothing on this list that I wouldn't rank in my sort of top 10 favorite movies.
That's interesting because I think I do have a couple that are not my favorite, not necessarily my favorite movies, and I'll explain those when I get to one of those. But so that was on your guys' list or no?
Yes, it was number 2 on my list.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. We did 3 each. You don't have to.
We did 3 each, but
it sounded like we're talking about 10. But we had a lot more.
We each had to have a lot more because if you picked one, I couldn't use it.
You're right.
Right.
Yeah. Complicated rules even back then.
All right, let's go to from the coin toss. Barry is second. So why don't you go with your?
All right, choice. I'm going to go with my number 3 pick. Because I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. Since we're not going in any particular order. I know. But I'm a gambling kind of guy right now. I'm going to go with Terminator 2, the director's cut.
Director's cut.
Classic movie, still holds up. The effects are great. They were great for when it first came out. They're still awesome. And absolutely classic movie.
Could we be any more low energy?
Is
it just me?
Right? No, it's all of us. Yeah. Todd was asleep.
I was asleep. So just what was my first pick?
We
haven't gotten to it yet.
You think it's Raiders?
I
don't even remember this. I don't even remember recording this.
But just as a disclaimer, we are listening to this was recorded in 2013.
Yeah.
At the time, Terminator Dark Fate didn't exist yet.
Oh, so
just so everybody knows.
This is a view back to a world before Dark Fate.
Exactly. Just so you know.
I think this podcast is my Dark Fate.
We know that was the best Terminator.
Okay. Let's see. Maybe if we keep listening, we'll hear Todd talk.
I think I was just recalculating because when you rolled yours out, I was like, Barry, if Barry's doing 3, 2, 1. I'm going to be last with all my picks.
It just became a competition, really.
I had to go right to number 1, which is what I'm wondering what I rolled out. So go ahead.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I could tell you what my top 3 movies are, but anyway, it hasn't really changed much in 8 years. Yeah. Okay,
and absolutely classic movie. Just everything about it. I could watch it over and over and over again.
Outstanding.
Now, I thought about a movie like that. I also wanted a movie I didn't want to pick a 90-minute movie. I figure if I'm stuck on a desert island, I got to occupy as much time as possible. So,
the T2 director's cut is a good 2:20 probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a long
I mean,
one.
it's figure you got to kill as much time as possible.
That's true. Especially if it's the 3 of us stuck on the island together.
Yeah.
That's different.
We're going to need movies.
I think we're alone, though. Are we alone on this desert island?
If I was all by myself, I'm kind of picturing it as like, one of us has got VHS tapes, one of us has got DVDs, and the other has like laser discs. So they're not interchangeable, but we've all got our own 3 things. And, depending on the alliances that we form, we may share, we may have movie night, but, you may have them all to yourself. So.
Or it may turn into Lord of the Flies.
I thought it was, I was thinking about Survivor.
Boy, we really were talking over each. I mean, there were long stretches where nobody else was talking, but then we're just like on top of each other.
And we still do that.
Yeah, I know. It just sounds more muddled here.
The low energy is just...
Yeah, it is amazing that we thought that was somehow entertaining for anybody.
This isn't at half speed? Okay.
No, I think we're about to finally get Todd's pick here. Okay. Let's keep going.
I went to Piggy's head on a steak.
Yeah.
I thought it was more like Castaway, which is not on my list because it'd be very depressing.
It would be very, very, very...
Wilson!
Especially that after you're rescued, you wind up with Helen Hunt. Do you really want to be wound up with Helen Hunt?
I hated people back
Joe
then.
versus a volcano. That was also another stranded island. We should be with Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan, but have you seen her lately?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I would take Meg Ryan, Joe versus the volcano.
Dave's trash talking actresses.
Okay, I agree with that.
I would sign up.
Maybe if we're lucky, we'll get a couple more references.
I like Helen Hunt for the record. I thought thinks she's a good actress, and I thought she was cute and mad about you.
You think there's any Maggie Gyllenhaal references in episode 0?
We'll find out.
I mean, who knows?
All right, let's keep going.
You're up, but not now.
Okay, I agree with that.
I would sign up.
Helen Hunt was a full frontal.
I sign off on that also. Okay. So,
all right, Todd hasn't given us a movie yet.
So what's my first choice?
It's your turn.
Well, I don't know.
Well, you know what my first choice is, right? What's my first choice?
Oh, it's got
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders
Okay,
of the Lost
good.
Ark.
Yeah, we're there. Yeah.
That was on my
I know
list.
it was on.
That was
it's on both of your lists. That's why I wouldn't take a chance.
There's no way it wasn't on.
Not put it out there as soon as I could. Yes, and yeah, and it's fine. It's fine just as it was released. So we didn't need to revisit.
It is. I actually.
We didn't need to revisit that movie at all.
I just saw it in IMAX.
Yeah.
And it still holds up in the movie. So we went about 6 months ago, saw it in IMAX.
I just actually watched it with a room full of students who are between 12 and 18, none of whom had ever seen that movie before. And they were just transfixed by it. It's like a lot of movies, I try to show them a lot of older movies. It just, they get bored. They loved it. They followed it all the way through, and they cheered in the right parts, and they got the jokes. It was great. It really does hold up.
Have you seen the Blu-ray version, the cleaned up, restored version?
I haven't yet. I have it. I haven't even taken the shrink wrap off it.
Looks spectacular.
Yeah, I actually just when I went through my movies, I noticed. Oh, I haven't watched this.
Yeah, it looks great.
I just realized we went in the wrong order.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
I was going to stop you. You were on a roll,
but that's fine.
You bastard!
So we all went. So next, Todd, why don't you go first?
Okay. Then I was planning on being in the middle. It was easier. Okay. I'm going to go with The Dark Knight. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
A more recent one. That's good, though.
Yeah.
This is where Maggie Gyllenhaal may come in.
I was going to say, she is in that movie, isn't she? All right. Well.
It's good, though.
Yeah. So.
All mine are old.
Yeah. I've watched it.
Watchable, but.
See, I'm a Batman guy. It's like if I'm gonna be in the island, Batman's gonna be there with me. So.
All right. Did you raise your hand, Todd, for me to stop?
No.
He was.
I was waiting. I was waiting for that. I was waiting. I'm sorry.
Waiting for the
I
Maggie
guess I did
Gyllenhaal
raise my hand. I was kind of like mentally making space for the Maggie Gyllenhaal diss.
Okay. Wait, I didn't get how we didn't do the right order.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
No, I think you told us before we started recording that it was going to be you because you won the coin toss, then Todd, then me, but you went to me second.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't remember any
Again,
of that. Okay.
we do plan things every now and then, but we don't always follow through on the plan. So that still also is a theme 8 years later.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
It's the Joker one with Heath Ledger.
That's the Joker one.
Great movie.
Yeah.
It does have Maggie Gyllenhaal, one of the ugliest women in the
There it is, folks.
This is
Boy.
the Genesis moment.
Episode 0 it started.
The Genesis of Dave crapping on Maggie Gyllenhaal.
I feel like we got to rewind that, but no, we don't.
I'm going to rewind that because I missed what you said.
That's the boy. Was I talking about that in like real life too?
I have gone back looking for this moment, okay, and couldn't find it, and it was because I was trying to find the first place that you trashed her. Right, it was this.
I'm gonna play it again.
I must have said it in real life too.
I'm sure.
It does have Maggie Gyllenhaal, one of the ugliest women on the planet.
Who's not an acceptable.
Why he let her die?
Not an acceptable replacement for Katie Holmes. And
not at all.
Does Bruce Wayne really go with? I mean, I was honestly watching that movie when she died. I was relieved because I just could not keep looking.
I think Bruce Wayne was too.
2+ hours, a man runs around in a rubber bat suit, and you have a problem with Maggie Gyllenhaal as credible?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, come on. Cut him some slack here. Yeah, no, that is.
I actually think. Yeah. I like Batman Begins better, I think, than The Dark Knight. But
I've been rewatching that. I actually started watching it on the plane when we were coming back from JoeCon, and I've got to finish it. But I haven't seen it since I originally seen it in the theater. I've actually only seen all 3 of those movies one time each.
I've seen Batman Begins 7 or 8 times, which is why I would take The Dark Knight, which I've only seen, I think, 3 times. So,
that's funny. I actually thought about choosing a movie I haven't seen. Because if I'm risky. On it, why say something? Yeah,
but it's risky because if you don't like it, that's one less movie, one less option.
Okay.
Are we in a library recording this?
It does seem like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I feel like we're like, okay, here, this is my Dark Knight.
Yeah. I do think we realized after listening back to this that we needed more energy. I mean, I remember even after the first couple of real episodes.
I remember
telling each other, we gotta have more energy.
That's so funny.
We just weren't used to being on microphones. I mean,
I know we'd be animated in person, but that was
I think that's true with a lot of people. Though you put a mic in front of them and they clam up. And I mean, I was a little more used to being around microphones because I used to work in radio. But we're all.
I never had been recorded. As far as I know. Yeah, that's interesting.
We are all. I mean, Todd's probably the most animated out of the 3 of us here, and that's not to say that he's super animated, but it's.
We know the Genesis. Moment of Maggie Gyllenhaal. That's
we know where that came from. Yeah. It took us 8 years to dig through the skeletons in the closet.
When we did your 50th birthday thing, I wanted to find that clip, and I went through and I tried to find the episode where you trashed her because I remember you're saying exactly what you just said, and I could not find it. It was in the 0 episode.
Jeez, that's funny.
Yep. That is funny.
I stand by that, even in these times. Nothing personal, Maggie. Batman just wouldn't choose you.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. We are almost a third of the way through the first episode.
Okay.
Are we really?
Continue.
Yeah. It's only like maybe 20% through. Yeah.
Okay.
There's not a ton to it. All right, let's keep going.
That is so we're in round 2. So who go? Barry, one of you go. I mean, we're totally not going in any order.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to actually jump to my number 1 choice only because my number 2, 3, and 4 choices are already on the table. So, and it probably seems
Todd was banging the table even in episode.
I know, right?
How do you know that was me?
I'm
How
sure
do you
it
know
was.
that was me?
Because we know.
I'm gonna assume it was you.
No reason to assume that was me.
All right, we're going for my number 1 choice here. So let's see what that was.
My number 2, 3, and 4 choices are already on the table. So, and it probably seems extremely obvious to you guys, but Star Wars: A New Hope is my number 1 choice.
No New Hope.
Really just.
Yeah, it's that's my go-to movie for anything. I'm homesick. I need to watch a movie. It's it was the one that started everything for me. So, and I would go with. I know this might be blasphemy to some people. I would go with the Blu-ray enhanced, edited, retouched, whatever you want to call it.
You would,
because I've gone back and watched the original. And as much nostalgia as we may have for it, it's hard to watch now based on
Stop.
But now that we have the despecialized edition, I would probably have a different opinion.
But you even back then would go for the special. You're saying the special edition
With all that shit crammed in there with
I think it was more about the picture quality than it was about the added stuff for me back then, because the picture quality on the originals was pretty rough.
It's tough to see all those mountain lines and stuff.
Yeah.
But see, you've grown though. I don't think you'd say that now.
Despecialized is the way to go.
Just to be clear, who shot first?
Oh, Greedo. Never shot first. It's always been Han.
What's he saying? Musafa? What was he saying?
No, it's McClunky. Now, I watched it on, was it FX or one of the networks this past weekend was showing it. There's so many versions out there now that they don't have the latest. They don't have the Disney Plus version. So they had the non-McClunky special edition version.
Jesus.
Okay,
here's a question for you.
Going, no McClunky.
The bootleg things don't exist, and you have the original DVD or the special edition. Which do you pick?
Probably the special edition, because it's cleaner. Look, I might still be stuck on a desert island. I still care about picture quality.
But you're watching it on a black and white television.
Yeah, I'm watching
on a coconut.
on
the Professor Coconut television.
Yeah. I don't love all the added stuff, but I do like picture quality.
Don't you feel it? I feel there's a nostalgia to watching the original. But anyway,
I totally agree.
I'm glad I live in a world where there are options.
I'm glad you do as well.
Put it that way. Yes. All right. Let's see what else.
Hard to watch now, based on all the revisions we've seen and everything. So that's my number.
You agree?
I had Empire Strikes Back on my list because I find it more watchable. But
I agree.
You know what? As a standalone movie, though, I see that. I would say Empire is actually my favorite Star Wars movie.
It's
but
everybody's favorite.
if it's just one movie,
yeah.
If it's just one movie, A New Hope is more of a self-contained.
I'm not so sure I even agree with that statement.
That's what I'm saying. You've never said that. We've been arguing that thing.
I've actually adopted that position, and you've receded from it.
A New Hope is Star Wars is is the best of all.
It is.
11 Star Wars movies. So
how many? 9,
11,
10. 10 Star Wars movies and 3 Indiana Jones movies. Right?
Okay. Well, if you're talking about what exists or what we acknowledge exists, there's two different.
Think about the simpler times of 2013.
Oh my God!
There's no such thing as The Last Jedi, and there wasn't a fucking president who destroyed this world and set us back 50 years.
And there was no COVID.
Those are beautiful times.
Beautiful times. Okay, let's
simpler time. Yes, it was a simpler time. Okay.
Yeah. If it's just one movie, A New Hope is more of a self-contained thing for me.
Mm-hmm. And I would put it on my favorite movies, but again, if I'm having to watch it over and over again, I don't know if I'd pick that. But
Empire, I think
you don't want to go to Tashi Station and get some power converters.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Empire benefits from being the second film in that it doesn't need all the preamble. It doesn't need to introduce the characters. You kind of start running with it. And there's that you don't have that kind of slow build-up, but I agree. If you're going to have one of the 3, that's where you start. Right.
Okay, my turn. This is interesting because my list is very different. I would have picked your guys. I'm going to pick a movie called Memento.
Okay, I remember that one.
Christopher,
what
and
the
I'll tell you
hell?
why. Because again, I'm figuring I'm on a desert island. I have nothing else going on. That's a movie I think you could watch 10 times and find different things in it every time you watch.
I agree with that.
Did you have Memento in your top 100?
I think I forgot it.
I did. I had it in my top 100.
Maybe I did. I may have had
I had it in my top 100. I don't think you did.
By that logic, you should put Tenet in your desert island because you could spend the rest
Memento
of your life trying to figure it out.
Is watchable. Tenet is just a travesty.
Yes, I agree.
I wasn't a big fan of Memento.
Sorry, but I love Memento. I think it's brilliant.
I didn't have it on my top 100.
You didn't?
Nope.
Okay.
I forgot about it.
Wow.
I literally haven't watched that movie in more time since this episode.
Yeah.
Well, because you're saving it for the desert island.
I'm saving it for the desert island.
It's in your go bag.
And it may be because I'm just so annoyed by Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. All right.
And there's color, and actually, if you remember, one or the other, I don't know which one, the black and white parts go in reverse, and the color goes forward in time, and then they meet. So there's a lot of thinking you could do with that, because I'm looking to occupy my time. So
that was definitely a mind bender, that movie.
Although I thought Inception would be a good choice.
I'm a little concerned, though, that once you watch that movie once or twice, that it's like watching The Sixth Sense, and once you know the gag, and it's like but you watch it again, and then you see it in a different way. But if you go back and watch it 3 and 4 times, I just wonder if it holds up.
Whereas Memento is different, though. You know what he's up against from like minute one, and you're fighting that.
That's true.
You're fighting it all. You're kind of trying to put this disjointed thing together the same way he is. And even when you know the end, when you know it comes together, seeing that, because I've watched it 2 or 3 times, seeing that whole journey again, you're still kind of there, almost like you're expecting a different outcome. It does hold up really well. I'd put that in a category with like Inception, as you mentioned, and maybe even Pulp Fiction, where you've got to take these disjointed elements and put them back into order in your head, and you're trying to compose a narrative even while it's giving you a narrative. And
Pulp Fiction almost made my list.
I agree. Pulp Fiction. Yeah, I agree with that. Just something to make you think. So we've all gone twice. Who went first? Barry, have you not gone first?
I haven't gone
We still
first.
couldn't figure it out.
All right, so one of you go first now.
Okay, I'm just looking at my top 4 are all gone, so I'm going down my list now, and I'm going to break order here because I was struggling with this to think of something that, most of my movies choices are either really like serious dramas or sci-fi or whatever, and I thought it would be good to have something that would be a little bit more uplifting and maybe funny.
I agree with that.
So I've got one uplifting one and one funny one, and I'm trying to decide which one I'm going to go with. But I think I'll go with the funny one, and I'm going to go with The Princess Bride.
It is on my list.
Good choice.
That's a movie you can watch over and over again. It's funny. It's great movie.
That would have been either 3 or 4 for me.
Yeah. The one I was tossing coins on back and forth between that one, it was also It's a Wonderful Life, which I love the movie.
I thought about that
but
as well.
I have a feeling that as much as I love it, I usually watch it once a year.
Christmas
with my wife
will come to
Christmas.
the island. It will. So.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I think Princess Bride, if I'm going for comedy, I'm going with Princess Bride.
That's an excellent choice, and that brings us to our sponsor. Today's podcast is brought to you by Think Geek, who are selling rodents of unusual size. It's actually a 2-foot-long rat. They just added it to their catalog. So go to thinkgeek.com.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to buy one.
But they
Okay. Think Geek, not a sponsor.
They were not our sponsor.
They were not our sponsor.
Should we do a commercial right now for our actual sponsor while
that's a good, since we're in the middle, check Fanboy Collectibles out. I don't know what's on their website. I didn't look at it today, but they've got
some
everything.
interesting thing. There's a cool kind of maquette of King Shark, who, if you did watch The Suicide Squad, which everyone should, that's what I will say, you may have an affinity for King Shark. So
yeah, there's Luke Skywalker from Mandalorian. We've been waiting for that. I know I've pre-ordered that.
Yep,
that's on the list. There are also those 1/6 scale sideshow Clone Wars. Anakin and what's his face, Obi-Wan.
Those look
I
awesome.
love this Iceman statue too. I love the clear statues.
Yes.
I think they look great.
Yeah.
So check them out, fanboycollectibles.com. Longtime sponsor, Troy, thank you. You've been awesome. We couldn't do it without you. We totally appreciate it. And check them out online, fanboycollectibles.com, or in their store in Newtown, Connecticut. Tell them the regular Joe sent you. Think Geek, out of business. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say they're not even in business anymore, are they?
I don't know.
They may be. Well, didn't they get bought by GameStop? Or,
Yeah, they're now
Yes,
they're sort of
yeah.
in the same
I'm
thing.
not sure. So
Thank God I have stock in them. A part of our deal was GameStop stock, so that we are all millionaires.
Yes,
Oh
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yep.
If only. Okay, I'm going to keep rolling, but I think we're still somehow talking about Think Geek.
But they did make this giant rat, which I thought it's funny. The first time I showed that to Mark, he started crying his eyes out over seeing the rat for whatever reason.
That's funny.
Do you have a list of things that you traumatized your son with?
besides the Wampa and the rat.
The Wampa, the giant rat. There's got to be some others.
There's got to be others, I'm sure.
As I was tucking in Joshua tonight, I said, "Have fun storming the castle." That was my favorite line.
And they were what, 11 when we did this?
Yeah.
10 and 11, and now they're
at
18 and 19.
And college and driving and all that. Yeah.
Jeez, time.
It is crazy.
What do you think that means?
Yeah, I do not think that means what you think it means.
There's not a bad performance in that movie. It's brilliant.
No.
It's absolutely brilliant. And it totally holds up.
Yep.
All right, Todd, when do you go?
I'm also going to go off genre a little bit. This is probably more in the vein of what we were talking about before, but I would go with The Usual Suspects.
That was almost on my list too.
I love the movie, and I've now not seen it for about 6 years, and it's long enough that I think I can watch it again and really enjoy it 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 times.
Yep.
So,
and that is one of those.
I'm just pausing to say, Kevin Spacey, Todd, what are you thinking?
Okay. There are many fine performances in there, in addition to the now creepy Kevin Spacey.
Things have changed.
We had some pre-show gold tonight where I also talked about a Kevin Spacey movie that now is hard to watch, but it's like a recurring theme tonight.
What was the Netflix show him and the Princess Bride were in? Was that even a show when we started this?
It was not even a show when we started this.
No, probably not.
Oh God, what the hell was the name of the show?
He was the governor.
He was the
No,
president.
he was the president.
But he didn't start out as the president.
He was the vice president.
Cards. Jesus.
Yeah,
House of Cards.
House of Cards.
Which
House of
I
Cards
gotta say was great.
House of Cards
really,
was
really
great.
good early on, and then got a little weird. And you watched the last season, but I never did. Right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's weird.
I never did.
It's not nearly as good.
They have he abruptly dies or something off screen, and
Boy, February 2013 it started, so it may not have even been a thing when we.
Yeah.
Or just.
It was just a thing, and maybe none of us even started watching.
I got in at the end of the first season, and he was brilliant in that. And again, the guy was an extremely gifted actor, all the way back to one of Dave and my favorite old shows, Wise Guy, which was the first place anyone ever saw him in anything. But he turned out.
And I was talking before we started recording about the movie Swimming with Sharks, which is one of my favorite movies, and he's brilliant in that. He's been great in everything I've ever seen him in. It's just hard to watch him now because that
this is the thing. And we're running into this a lot these days, where it's like, can you separate the artist from the person's life, and can you separate a writer from their opinions outside of their work? Can you separate the director from his behavior that doesn't appear on screen? And
depends what it is.
It's becoming difficult, and I think that it's. We're redrawing these lines where, Joss Whedon, who probably genuinely is an asshole, has directed one of my favorite films and one of my favorite TV shows. So it's hard.
And you and I were texting over the weekend about James Gunn, and we were just talking about the Suicide Squad, and we won't go into detail on that now, but just, we were saying we thought that, how do you end up with that movie from that director? And it's because you take a guy and you bring him into a franchise who has everything to prove, and he does an amazing job.
Legions of 20-somethings, who were raised on Harry Potter right now, who have to, reassess everything that they hold dear because of statements that J.K. Rowling has made. So it's tricky. It's very, very tricky. And I think this is something that one of the things that we're gonna come to an understanding about in the next few years. And I think there'll be it's going to vary in different degrees. One like Lovecraft County in some ways this past year, Lovecraft Country. Is it county or country? Country. So thank you. Kind of reappropriated Lovecraft in a way. They took it and took all the vileness in the man, and then moved, integrated that and moved past it in a very different way. And whether we do things like that or not, but
then HBO cancels it, and then it gets nominated for a gazillion.
It was absolutely brilliant, but it was also they didn't leave a place to go with it too. But again, Kevin Spacey right now it's hard to look at. It really is. It's hard to separate the man from the, from from his behavior. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. That was a tangent. I don't know where we were, but let's get back into it.
Still Kevin Spacey. Still Usual Suspects.
Usual Suspects, correct.
And that is one of those ones that you every time you watch it, you see different things.
It's brilliant.
Kaiser Sose.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, well, I have a lot on my list. I have some off-genre ones. As a comedy, I have a movie called Made.
Yeah.
Have you seen Made? John Favreau and Vince Vaughn.
I have not seen.
There was a time where you have to watch it. I've watched it like a dozen times. I rented the DVD.
8 years later, still haven't watched it.
Really? I love it. It's so funny.
Not that I don't want to watch
the
it.
The outtakes are the best.
Never makes my list.
I saw part of it. I've never finished it.
Really?
It was just like a timing thing. But, I think I watched it like on HBO at the time when you had to like schedule watching things on HBO. When
Vince Vaughn is funny as hell in that. Oh, my God.
He's good in everything. I like Vince Vaughn. He's good. He's actually a decent dramatic actor, but he's also just, his comedies are ridiculous.
He's going to be Herman Munster.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, I heard
No,
that.
we said that. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I heard that on our podcast.
You were right about that?
Yeah. I heard that on the podcast. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just read that he was cast in something.
Oh, I did see that. I don't know.
Oh, I just watched it was a trailer I watched for something, and he was in it. It was some new wacky movie. I forget. He plays like a mail inspector or something like that.
Really? There's an Addams Family Netflix series by He Who Shall Be Unnamed.
Yes.
Catherine Zeta-Jones is Morticia, and Luis Guzman is Gomez. I think that's interesting. I can see that.
Yeah, I'll look up the other show. I just saw it's a movie. I just saw a preview for it. It's a movie that's coming out in theaters, I believe. But anyway, I'll get back to that.
What's that?
It's some. I know a theater, right? I don't know. I haven't been to one yet in a long time. But all right, I'm going back to the program here.
Watch it. I've watched it like a dozen times. I rented the DVD, watched it, and then the next day went out and bought it. It's just, are we allowed to watch the extended? Not the extent. The
bonus features.
The bonus features.
Anything
Does that
on
count?
That disc.
The bonus
Anything on
features.
That disc is fair game.
The bonus features are funnier than the movie. It's just, again, I like Barry, wanted to get a comedy because I figured it's pretty depressing on the island. So that's my that would be my choice. It was one of the funniest movies, and I've watched it a dozen times. I could watch it again. So
do we want to talk about any runners up that we had on the list?
Yeah.
Now, who didn't do a comedy? Well, I guess both of you did a comedy. I honestly thought about Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is just like one of my it's my favorite of the John Hughes films. It's one of my favorite 80s films. And again, a movie that I can watch over and over again. It's one of those films that, like, if you're channel surfing and you go by it, I'll stop wherever it is in the movie and I'll sit there and I'll watch the rest of the movie. And
it seems like every time I catch that movie on cable, they're at the parade.
Yes,
I don't know why. It's like inevitable.
There should be a basic cable channel that just loops the parade scene over and over and over again.
Twist and shout sequence.
Either Don Shane or Twist and Shout. Either way, it's brilliant.
All right, I'm just pausing it there because the movie I was thinking of is a new movie that's coming out called Queen Pins, and it stars Kristen Bell, Vince Vaughn, Stephen Root, a bunch of other people. But yeah, it's two women who are crazy couponers. Like, they save it, like they'll take a $200 bill and they'll end up at the store and it'll end up being like $7 because they use all these crazy coupons, and they end up getting into some kind of mail fraud thing. It's a comedy.
Uh-huh.
They get into like a mail fraud thing, and Vince Vaughn plays like the postal inspector who's like going after them. So
you had me at Kristen Bell. So
yeah, I watched the trailer for it a couple days ago, and I was actually like, all right, this is just quirky enough that this is something I want to see. So
not in the theaters, though.
Well, no, probably not. All right, back to the show.
It also has Mia Sara before it all went bad.
Okay, so I actually looked this up the last time.
True.
I watched the movie. How old was Matthew Broderick?
Jeez.
26.
Even 30.
No, he was only 26. Okay. What's his name?
You mean I nailed that?
Yeah. Yes.
That was a guess.
Yes. Captain Harriman there, Cameron, was 29.
Wow.
I met the guy. I talked to him for like half an hour one day, and I can't remember his name. John Rusk, is it? Anyways.
Alan Ruck.
Alan Ruck. Yeah.
Okay.
Alan Ruck.
Okay. So
Alan Ruck.
Anyways, he was 29. Mia Sara was 18. She was the only legitimate teenager in the batch.
Was she
really?
She
was 18. Yeah.
Wow. But she hit the wall.
Okay. And so what's the creepy element in the cast of that movie?
She was only in a handful of movies, right?
What's that? Yeah, no, she did. Yeah.
Time Cop.
She was good in Time Cop.
Boy, you're predictable.
I feel like Dave. I've said this before, but I feel like Dave has like the soul of a 1930s casting director.
You don't remember her in Time Cop?
Of course, I remember her in Time Cop.
Yep.
Topless.
I remember her in Legend also.
Oof.
I remember a lot. It's a bad movie, but she looked fantastic.
Yeah, but Time Cop, very good.
Yeah. It's just so funny because there are certain things that have been a constant since since we started the podcast, since we've known you.
Dave's just an asshole. What's up with that?
Oh, that was funny. I wonder, for people listening to this, if they're going to be able to distinguish from the sound of our voices when we're talking and when we're 8 years ago talking.
It doesn't make this first episode any more or less of a mess. So
no, it doesn't. So. Yeah, boy, there was a lot of air between the things we said too.
Yep.
It's not tight at all.
I do remember having a discussion like, we got to tighten this up because we're just got to be.
There's a reason this has stayed in the can.
For sure.
Yep.
All right. We're about halfway through. Let's see.
That's it. All right. We got.
What did we fill the time with? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the creepy element in the casting?
She was also in. She was in Legend too, wasn't she?
She was also in Legend.
She was in Legend.
Yeah.
Which I just watched recently, and it's tedious. I mean, there's good elements, but it's long.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't think I could watch that again.
So the creepy element in the casting of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
The principal, because he's like a pedophile now or something.
There's that. No,
Charlie Sheen.
that Matthew Broderick was dating his sister in the movie. It was Jennifer Grey at the time. They were they were an item at the time, but actually before the film was even made. And there's a few lines in there where the two of them are making eyes, and it's kind of like knowing that it's kind of weird.
Just wrong.
Now thank you for ruining them. For me.
So what other movies didn't make the list? Let me throw one of mine out there. Citizen Kane.
Yes. Yeah.
Which was one of my all-time favorites, and another one that you watch. The more you watch it, it's just like a masterclass in filmmaking. But I wasn't sure it would really work for me if I was stranded on an island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
I think
I had. Go ahead.
My favorite Orson Welles film is The Third Man, and I've probably even watched that more than Citizen Kane now. But again, it's that same thing where you could watch that too much. It is possible. You got to kind of, but it's just it's absolutely brilliant.
I don't think I saw it.
Oh, you got to. It's great.
Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Third Man.
I'm surprised that you didn't watch it when you were in film school, because that's like one of those films that they just have everybody watch.
Yeah, maybe we did.
It wasn't very memorable for you.
I was still into Spielberg movies. I was the only one. I had Groundhog Day,
another good one.
Which, that's a movie I think you could watch over and over again.
Yeah.
I also had Spinal Tap.
Yes. Yep.
Great one.
Also really good.
Yeah. I don't know if it's multiple viewings, but I think
no, it is. It holds up.
It does.
Comedies. I almost had Ghostbusters, but it's not something you could watch over and over.
See, I almost cheated.
I disagree with that.
Yes, you were wrong.
Yeah, I was wrong. You could watch Ghostbusters constantly.
I know. 8 years later.
Oh yes, yeah.
That's crazy. We didn't even listen to each other because you said you never saw Citizen Kane, and I have seen Citizen Kane. I didn't see the other one.
You were responding. You were responding to Third Man. I was going to say, because it does sound like you said you didn't see and that like you should have seen it in film school. You were still talking about Third Man.
Yes.
But
what's funny is that we didn't argue with each other, and we didn't really contradict each other, even if we knew.
I think we were so concentrated on what we had to say that we didn't even really hear everything everyone else was saying.
You asked before if we recorded this on a library. Like, I think that was part of it. Like, we were thinking instead of talking to each other.
Now we just talk for no good reason.
Yeah, now we just talk and don't even worry about what anybody thinks. So.
Yeah. Christmas too, but it's all between Young Frankenstein, High Anxiety, Spaceballs, just so good. But yeah, didn't go there. And then I had The Godfather.
Yeah, I had The Godfather,
which
I thought about that.
Great. And then the only one I had on my list was Wrath of Khan.
I had Wrath of Khan also.
Interesting.
Wrath of Khan was actually like in 5 or 6. I kind of had, believe it or not, I went back and forth between Wrath of Khan and the original Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
And they're both for the same thing. They're both kind of like sentimental to me for different reasons. Planet of the Apes is one of the. I saw that in a drive-in when it was aired. I mean, it was just like,
wow.
Yeah, that was a long, long time ago, and it's just like I said, I try not to watch it too often because it doesn't hold up in some areas, but and Wrath of Khan was really the first really good Trek film. So,
well, and both of those movies are.
I was just tonight on the treadmill saying I have to watch Planet of the Apes on the big screen. I haven't watched it in a long time.
I would love to see it on the big screen at some point. I will tell you, though, I did not see, contrary to what I said there, because I remembered this subsequently. I remember seeing Planet of the Apes and Escape from the Planet of the Apes together at a drive-in.
It was when they redid the
So when they did Escape,
you would have been pretty young to see Planet of the Apes in a drive-in.
I know, that's what I'm saying, and that's but I was thinking of Escape recently, maybe 6 months ago. And I remember seeing that in the drive-in first and then seeing Planet of the Apes afterwards. And it was the first time I'd actually seen the full movie because it had been on TV, but they cut a lot out of it.
With an hour
but I saw the two movies, in their original form out of order that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And, they used to do all that stuff. I used to go see those Planet of the Apes and James Bond double features all the time.
And I know I've said this on the show before, but I never saw the beginning of Planet of the Apes until I was an adult, because I only ever watched it on the 4:30 movie, and they started it when they were on the planet. I never saw the whole astronauts in the ship crashing.
We've talked about that so many times. They destroyed movies on that.
Yeah.
How do you put an hour and a half movie, an hour and a half with commercials?
I know.
Oh my God!
But
I'd love to have cuts of those. I'd love to have the Apes Week recorded from the 70s.
It's probably on the internet somewhere.
It's almost like a highlight reel.
Yeah, it really is.
Like running the film.
I'm curious when I start this back up if we're going to get the first ever mention of the Motionless picture, because Todd does tend to talk about that quite a bit.
I do, and I think, but I think the moment may have passed.
It may have passed, yeah. But when you started to talk about the first good Trek movie, I'm like, oh, here it comes, the Motionless picture.
Yeah, you guys didn't take the bait. You didn't do it. We'll see.
Yeah, but Wrath of Khan was really the first really good Trek film. So,
well, and both of those movies are definitely like in the Hall of Fame for overacting.
Oh God, yes.
In a good way. But the damn dirty apes and the Constein.
We have to do
the obligatory, scream at the sky scene.
Yep.
Yeah,
should do a mashup of those two.
We should do a Charlton Heston, because he was pretty prolific in the 70s of
Soylent Green.
Soylent Green is
great
people.
People.
When I yell that in the lunchroom, nobody gets it. It's just sad, really.
It's because we're old.
Yeah.
I had Blade Runner as well. I thought someone would have Blade Runner.
It went up and down my list. I thought about it a lot, but I watched that very recently, and it's kind of the weakest of the Harrison Ford trilogy, and
this could get me kicked out of the fraternity for good. But I've got to admit, I've watched that movie over and over again, trying to enjoy it. I know I should like it, and it's only the last time I watched it. I watched the newest cut of it. I forget exactly what they call it, but
there's been 30.
They shortened it, and they took out a lot of the voiceover.
And it really is the problem with that, is that what is Blade Runner is now so muddy.
But this version was the only one I've ever watched that I actually could say I enjoyed. Every other one I've watched, I've always forced myself to sit through. Which I know, again, I'll get kicked out of geekdom forever for that. But.
Yeah. To me, it's more... the story is a little muddled, but just visually, there's still nothing touches it visually. I mean, that's that was the movie. It still is to me. There's so much going on. And really, the only other thing I had on my list was Forbidden Planet, which is one of, again, a sentimental...
Do you still feel that way about Blade Runner? Or is it still...
I still love Blade Runner. I'm not sure. Visually, yeah, absolutely. Nothing touches that movie visually.
Okay, good. I'm glad you still feel the same.
I still like it. I mean, I don't know which... I mean, the funny thing is, and we've known that hardcore fans don't supposedly love the voiceover one, and they do love sort of the final cut one, but I didn't mind the voiceover.
I have a sentimental attachment to that one because that is the one that I saw in the theater.
Yeah, me too.
And it's still, when I see it without the voiceover, I feel like there's maybe a 12th cut somewhere in between with limited voiceover, but it just feels missing somehow.
Yeah,
no, I agree, and I do understand why Ridley Scott hates it, and it could have been done better. I think there was a valid need for it. Okay, I think it was a little bit opaque, maybe a little too opaque for audiences.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I think they overdid it. I think it was to the point where, okay, I hold the cup of coffee to my lips because that's how I get coffee into my mouth. I mean, it was like they just explained everything, and then.
Well, and I still stand by what I said.
A bunch of things, unexplained. So
I like it more now because I've seen that version a few times, and I can. It's a version I can actually sort of say, like, all right, from beginning to end, I enjoy it. Where a lot of the other versions, I didn't. But I've seen that final cut a couple times.
I will say this, and I can say this about no other film in the same way. I love Blade Runner in aggregate. Okay?
There's no other movie that there's that many versions of.
There's so many versions of that film rattling around my head that, like, I love the ambiance of it. I love everything that that went together in it. And it's just muddled together in one kind of measure.
Yeah, it's hard. I that's on my list to watch in the downstairs too, and I'm not sure which one I'd watch. But anyway,
well, maybe do it once a year and keep track of which ones you watch, so that every year you watch a different version.
Yeah.
See which one you end up liking best.
Yep.
All right.
And really, the only other thing I had on my list was Forbidden Planet, which is a sentimental classic. To me, the original sci-fi movie.
That's a great one.
Again, I don't know if it holds up to watch over and over again, but.
Todd, did you have anything else that we didn't touch on?
We hit everything.
Cool.
I'm looking at it here, and it's funny. Everything. Somebody mentioned everything that I had written down. As you guys are putting your list together, did you look at other people's lists online? Did you just pull it out of your head, or did you go on look at other lists?
I actually just sat myself in front of my DVD rack and looked at it. I didn't look anything online.
Yeah.
I actually looked at the IMDb 250 top movies. That just to jog my memory.
Did it surprise you?
And then looked through my DVDs.
Did it surprise you how far up Raiders was on that? It's like number 3, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that high. But you know what the problem with that is? It has movies, it's based on rating. If there's a movie that has 300,000 people review it, the next one down could be 30,000 people if it has a higher number. So there's movies I never even heard of in there.
You know what, though? It wouldn't surprise me either way, because it is as close to a perfect movie as you're going to find. I mean, it hits on every level. So people that aren't even into, sci-fi or action genre or whatever, they love that movie too.
Yep.
It's an adventure movie, but I tried.
Okay, so what about if you could unmake any film banishing it forever from memory, particularly your memory. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this
okay?
A couple of those.
Do you have a?
Is this where we get into the Planet of the Apes?
This may be where we get to the Motionless picture. Okay.
That or the Tim Burton stuff.
Hatred of.
So what do you guys think we're going to mention here?
I think both.
I think it's gonna be Planet of the Apes or maybe Mars Attacks, and probably, yeah. I think we may hit on all of these.
I think a dark horse would be Highlander 2.
It's funny. I remember us doing.
It gets mentioned here because that is definitely on my list of films I would unsee.
I remembered us doing Desert Island TV. This I did not remember was in this episode.
Yeah, that's why they say, hey, this is why this is good.
Yeah.
I was looking.
Let's see
Fertile ground.
Oh, wait. Before you go. I was just looking up. We were saying how Raiders is a perfect movie. The episode of Big Bang Theory where she ruins it comes after we recorded this.
Of course it does.
Of course it does.
That's so funny. Was that never even in someone's head until they did it on?
I think that the writer of that episode.
It is wrong. It's wrong.
Writer of that episode did, hit on something there, but it doesn't change my enjoyment. of that film
I know, but it's so funny how it's like, wait a second, what? It's all true.
Yeah. All right, I'm really curious to see what we dig up here. So,
I have a feeling Dave and I are going to have the same one.
I bet we do. Can we also ban a director?
I hated him.
It's funny, 2 of his movies are on my list. I picked the top 3 movies I would like to undo and movies that should not be.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many you guys
Barry.
picked. Well,
I didn't know we were going to go into that, but I just know in my head. Go ahead.
All right. Well, we got to go with Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. Has to be the number one movie that never should have been made.
It's a crime against nature.
So Barry said it first.
It's a crime against everything.
Yeah, he should have had his director's card taken away from him after that movie came out. It was just awful.
I only like Ed Wood. Other than that, I think he's just horrific filmmaker.
Well, there's been a lot of bad movies, right? Yeah. I don't mind his animated stuff so much, but and I get, he's all right. He's a great filmmaker on a lot of levels, and I like a lot of what he's done. But Planet of the Apes, it was just he never should have touched that sort of sacred source material. If you're not going to do it justice, he changed it so much and just really just destroyed it. Yeah. But actually, the number 2 one on my list is also another one of his abominations, and it's Mars Attacks.
Oh God!
Not because I mean, talk about great source material, and those original trading cards that it's based on, they're scary. They're just for the time that they came out and what they were just great. And he turned it into a bad comedy.
Yeah. And the talent in that movie that he misused was just
oh God,
it was horrible. It's just horrible.
Anything Jack Nicholson was in at that time was just horrific. I hated him as the Joker, but I'm sure I know a lot of people there. Okay, send me your tweets at Dave Pisani. Everyone loves that '89 Batman and thinks Jack.
I actually think Dave's mellowed from back then. I think he's got.
I still hate '89 Batman.
Yes, it's just but
Jack Nicholson sucks in that. Anyway, we've done that a dozen times on this show.
Yeah. Oh, I know. But this is the birth of it.
Yep.
It's total overacting. They made it all about him. I can't stand it.
But you know what? Most of the people that enjoyed that aren't Batman fans or weren't Batman fans, like traditional Batman fans. So that movie played on that sort of Jack Nicholson overacting level. If you're just a casual moviegoer, they weren't doing a lot of comic book movies back then. But
true.
Yeah, you can't even compare the Heath Ledger Joker and the Jack Nicholson Joker. They're just in another separate universes.
Or the Cesar Romero.
That's true too.
That's great. All right, Todd. What was your movie to?
You may or may not agree with this, but it's for sentimental reasons, but Star Trek: The Motionless Picture.
There it is. I knew.
And there it is.
We really the nucleus of this podcast is in this
unaired
episode.
podcast. Unaired podcast basically is like the seed that
This was a roadmap for the next 8 years to follow.
Just the list of movies. How many times have we listed movies and things?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nonstop. Boy, it really 400 hours boils down to 37 minutes.
So for those of you who've never heard this, you've already heard this. Because a lot of it was, like I said, it was just...
Well, nobody's ever heard this, but all of these sentiments have been said
That's
before.
what I'm saying. It's all been rattling around in our skulls since before.
That's crazy.
It is crazy that it was all of this stuff that we've been joking about for...
If you would have listed out all the things we've sort of talked about, or especially bitched about, I would have said... Oh, yeah, that's spread out over 20 episodes. Not all in one.
No, it's all in 30 minutes of... It's like we opened the vein and like 30 minutes of bile spilled out.
But it's funny because then we chose to never release it. But then over the course of years, it's all come out anyway.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about... I'm gonna predict the next thing we hear is about how long those shots were around the Enterprise.
I'm sure.
I spent my entire childhood anticipating that film. Okay.
As did I.
And I went to see it like opening weekend, and I sat there just like crushed. It was like, I mean, even like all the 15-minute long beauty shots of the Enterprise and stuff was like, I had goosebumps when it started, and by the time it finished, it was like, really? And it was just like
I didn't understand it when I saw it as a kid. I just didn't understand it.
It was so long,
and it was
ridiculous.
boring.
And 2/3 of the way through, it occurred to all of us that we'd seen this before in an episode that wasn't even really great. It was a remake of the Nomad episode,
one, right?
And it was just really, this is what all this money and all this time and all this anticipation came up with. It was, I have probably more love for the Star Trek franchise than I do the Star Wars franchise. And I can only understand how people felt when the first prequel came out because of how I felt for, the Motionless picture.
Right.
Yeah. So that's
they did quickly redeem themselves.
They did, and incredibly so. I mean, I walked out of there.
Had they started with that, it would have been
a completely different thing. Yeah.
Although they did keep on making them. I was going to say Star Trek V, which is the worst. I think it's even worse, but I agree with you.
If you're comparing them, it is actually a worse movie.
Yeah.
Because the plot is just even more unbelievable.
Yeah.
Everything. There was a plot in that film?
The plot was William Shatner has to direct because Leonard Nimoy directed.
Exactly.
That's the plot.
It's
I'm now
it's in a
directing.
Contract somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Sidebar. Okay. Name your three. Okay. We all agree with Wrath of Khan. Your second favorite Star Trek movie.
Wow.
The Undiscovered Country.
I think I would probably have to go with that too.
Okay, now are you limiting to original cast? I got to say, First Contact. I think First Contact did a really good job.
I like First Contact. I'm in a minority. I actually like Generations a lot. I think it went on a little too long, but I really liked that movie.
Generations to me.
That's the start of Barry liking crappy movies.
It totally is. This is it, people. This is the genesis of Barry apologizing for bad movies.
I could have any Star Trek movie poster signed by the entire cast hanging in my basement. The one I have is Generations.
Yeah.
It was on the other night. I couldn't even turn it on. I couldn't. I don't love that at all.
So, I would
it's
say
a great movie till they get to the Nexus, and then it's kind of like.
Generations has First Contact probably is my second now. It's probably crept up to where, and I think in my list, I think I did have it above. I know I had it above The Undiscovered Country.
I still think my second favorite is Undiscovered Country. I love that movie.
I think Voyage Home too.
It seems like, but the Voyage Home's good in different ways.
But dated.
But The Undiscovered Country kind of tapped into everything that worked in the second film. And, the characters are true to who they were. Everything just seemed to work in there. And
it would have been a good sequel to Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
It had the baggage of, Final Frontier in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem was they needed to resurrect Spock to have that movie. So
right.
Yeah.
There's that little thing.
To me, is would really benefit from some good editing at the point, like the Kirk Picard part. That just seems. I don't know how recently you've watched that, but I watch it now, and it just seems to go on forever, and it just says, that
was my caveat, is that it's a little too long, and I agree. It could, if it were re-edited, it'd probably be a better film. But Undiscovered Country, I think, is my number 2 as well. Great movie. Yeah.
All Klingons love Shakespeare.
But I'm with Dave too. First Contact was really good.
It is really good. It's by far the best of those.
Because the other ones are really not even memorable at all. They're just, what are there? How many are there? 2 or 3? I don't even remember.
Nemesis.
Oh, it was First Contact, and then there was
not Inception.
Insurrection.
And, something else. There's another one.
Yeah, I agree. Not very memorable.
I haven't picked the movie I would remake because those are probably 2 excellent choices. I got to agree with both of those. Oh, not in the genre, but Godfather 3 is just atrocious.
Yeah, cash grab.
I mean, there's a lot of those. Yeah.
Now, on its own,
so
if you could totally divorce that from the other 2 films, there are actually worse mob films. There are. But it's just where that really, because I've tried watching it by itself. I'll tell you, you cannot watch those 3 films in a row. I mean,
Well, Sofia Coppola's acting was so bad.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny? I think she totally ruined that movie. Winona Ryder was supposed to have that part.
Yeah.
And I worked on Mermaids, which she was doing Mermaids. And right after Christmas, she was going to do Godfather 3. Our movie ran way too long. We actually shot right until I think 2 days before Christmas, and she got like some kind of flu or something and had to pull out of that movie. So I think she probably could have maybe at least helped it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the story wasn't.
Well, and here we are 8 years later, and they've re-edited that movie now to try to.
I know. I still haven't seen it.
I have it on my DVR. I recorded it. I haven't watched it.
I didn't realize that. So they re-edited that?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Coppola did a re-edit of it and supposedly took a lot of the Sofia Coppola stuff out and added footage back in or did something to it to make it a better movie.
I did not remember talking about that. So,
yeah, it's been out for 6 months. Yeah, maybe. So, yeah, okay.
Flu or something and had to pull out of that movie. So I think she probably could have maybe at least helped it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the story wasn't great, but Sofia Coppola's acting was, and who knew, she turned out to be a great director. But as far as acting goes, she really brought that whole movie down.
I agree with that.
And she did.
So my last one on the. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say she didn't even look comfortable in that film. It was just
everything about it.
Yeah. So
I was just going to say my honorable mention on the movies that should not be is Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Is that the Val Kilmer one, or is that
it's the George Clooney, Mr. Freeze.
Really? I like George Clooney better as Batman. I mean, they were both horrible. But
everything else about that movie, even if I'll give you Clooney, who wasn't the worst, but he was better than Kilmer.
He was better than Kilmer.
But, Mr. Freeze was just awful.
Terrible.
Just awful.
Absolutely terrible.
Just especially at the time, all the people they put in that movie. I mean, they must have spent a fortune.
Oh yeah.
It's it's one of those things though. It's like as superhero movie sequels move on, there just seems to be this temptation to cram more and more people into it. It's almost like it could be the Batman and Robin syndrome or like the Spider-Man 3 syndrome, where it's just like, if 2 villains is good, 3 villains is better. And it's just
is that the one with Jim Carrey? Was he in that too? Or is that the other one?
I think Poison Ivy was in that
Poison
one. Right?
Ivy was in that. Bane was in that, and Mr. Freeze.
And was
in
Batgirl in that one too?
That was where and
Two-Face was Two-Face.
No, Two-Face was in
Batgirl
the Riddler one. That was the Val Kilmer one.
Too many characters.
Batman Forever.
Really awful.
Yeah, that was Batman Forever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they put people in charge of superhero movies back then that really had no business being in charge of them, and they've done in the last 15 years they've done so much, more research. They write the right people. You can't even compare the movies they're making now to the movies they were making back then.
Yeah, just removing the rubber nipples from my memory would be good. That would be sufficient.
Although I liked
We're
Uma
still talking
Thurman.
about Batman, or
Uma's costume was nice.
Was memorable. Yeah. It's memorable.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, 1 minute to go.
All right, we're at 36 minutes here.
The pauses, I'm just falling asleep.
It's brutal.
I'm sorry, people.
We're down to the last 59 seconds, though.
Oh,
so
boy.
We're at the finish line.
And I even said we're at 36 minutes.
Yeah.
I part of me feels...
Even we were bored.
Do you remember when our shows used to be almost 2 hours long?
Yeah. Part of me feels like we've wasted the past 8 years because everything we think is in 37 minutes.
Okay, I do not feel that way, but
if we didn't, I'm surprised we didn't have the Val Kilmer argument of 2020 maybe whatever that was. Of he's only in one movie, two good movies.
I mean, if nothing
else, our
else,
400th episode title is "The More Things Change, the More They Stay the Same."
If nothing else, it's given us an opportunity to hang out more.
That's all this
has been about to me.
And hang out with all of you. So
it's really about us. No offense, fans. With all the millions of dollars we've made over the past 8 years, with all the listeners,
when are Barry and I going to get the checks? You keep saying.
Can you guys? Saying. I've got sponsorships lined up around the. You think that Tesla's? I paid for that.
Where's our hot toy money? That's what I'm wondering. Okay.
For me, it's about hanging out with the two of you. The fact that we have people that listen in and join us and enjoy it still blows my mind that they're out there, but and that they interact with us too and send us messages and whatever like that. That's
tell us when we're wrong.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. Tell us what you want to watch. To me, it's just that's the part that's crazy. Is like we can talk about nothing for an hour a week, and somehow there are people that actually enjoy it. So,
and we love you guys for that.
We do. Yes.
Do you want to hear what we said there's a theme song on the end of this, so there's probably only 30 seconds left of us talking. Let's see what we said. Let's see how we ended a show 8 years ago.
Yeah.
What do we want to do?
I think we should probably wrap it up.
I think we should call it.
Are we using this one?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Why don't we stop recording at least?
All right. Thanks for listening to the Regular Joe's podcast.
Can we thank again our sponsor?
Enjoy.
Think Geek.
Again, not a sponsor.
Where you can get your rodents of unusual size along with anything else for the geek.
Your Wampa skin rug as well.
Nice, yeah.
I think we were supposed to send them a podcast. I think we were supposed to record a podcast and send it to them.
Who knows?
Were we?
I vaguely remember that, and I think
I've been getting checks from them for 8 years, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. But
yeah, well,
yep, I do remember someone talking to them.
Where would we have even found them to talk to them?
I think we just made something up. I don't know. We knew this was a test because we said, "Are we using it?"
No,
I do think we were like, "Yeah," because right at the end they were like, "Are we using this?" And I said, "Yeah," and then I said, "Maybe." So I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
that was enlightening to me, I have to say.
Yeah, that is how the sausage is made, people. What is most amazing after this is that there is an episode 1. So
everybody starts somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah. Well,
so we started there.
I cannot, 400 episodes. I can't thank all the listeners enough. I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, we've said this before. We used to see each other at conventions and talk once in a while. We literally interact with each other every single day for the past 8 years.
Yep.
Yep.
And sometimes that, as with the case of today, that costs us a lot of money. So
Barry doesn't know about that. We'll talk about that.
Did you actually pull the trigger on that?
We pulled the trigger on it.
Holy shnikes. Okay.
Yep.
We'll talk about that in post-show gold.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you're talking about because I was on the text, but wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, but that's made my life better. You guys are my brothers.
Are we going to DNA test it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's coming. Yep. Let's just say one of my bucket list prop items or prop franchises is checked off. So
yeah.
23andMe that stuff. Let's see what comes back.
Yep.
That's right. So. Especially before he gets his hand on, because they're like, wait, what's all this Todd?
Why is it coming up Cro-Magnon?
Neanderthal, excuse me.
Oh, whatever, Neanderthal. I knew it was one of those two.
Neanderthal, yes. So
anyway, more on that later. But
yes. So next week, I'm going to make a prediction. Next week, we're going to talk at least a little bit about the Suicide Squad, so you should watch that.
Yes.
Not to be confused with Suicide Squad. Don't watch that.
Don't. Yeah, if you go on HBO, both are options. Choose correctly. Okay, choose wisely. And also, I would suspect by that point we're going to talk about the first episode of What If.
What If? I think that will be next week's show, right?
Yes, for sure.
So
for sure.
So we will see you for 401.
Yeah, 401. Wow, crazy.
It is crazy.
We appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.